15. Happy Thanksgiving to you all that's coming up. And, for all of you that really don't have some place to go or a family to spend it with, remember, it's just a frigging day, okay? That's it. Enjoy yourself. You got the day off and you're alone, enjoy yourself. If you're with family, enjoy yourself. If you're feeling guilty about being alone, well, then make some food up and go feed the homeless. Do an act of kindness. Don't feel sorry for yourself. And that's my lecture for Thanksgiving. What I thought I would do tonight, because it is kind of like a holiday week, I wanted to share with you a spiritual trip I actually took to Ghana about 5 years ago. And I call it Walking the Path of the Initiate. It was really a big leap of faith program that I went through. And boy, it was a trip that I really call kissing up to God and really letting go and walking the faith program. Now, I've been working on Quantum Leap, which is the name of my show, for, 30 years. So going to Ghana is part of that journey that I have. All right, so let me share it with you. Like I said, I can call this trip by many names: kissing it up to God, or the faith program, or waiting on the will of God, the patience program, or the great initiation. It's all relevant. And my initiation didn't stop for the test really keep going on. And at the time, this was done in 2010, after I got back from Ghana, I had no jet lag time, and I actually had to work 20 days straight. And boy, there was a lot of challenges that kept coming at me, and I had to keep meeting them head along with just letting the divine keep providing for me. And this trip, believe it or not, is about quantum leaping the world into the golden age. And it's stamped on my soul. And really, if you don't think that's a frustrating mission to have, yeah, live with that one for 30 years, ever since you become an awakened being. And I'll admit, it's a frustrating, challenging mission that not too many people want to take on. And I guess that's how I got the mission, because nobody else really wanted it. So although this mission started many years ago, I will tell you what made me decide to go to Africa and do a month of service work there. And there's a lot of people that actually followed me along with my daily journal, but really no one knows but me what I really went through, what I didn't write about. And now Spirit is not letting me alone until I put it down in my journal from the spiritual perspective, from my perspective, and then I'll have peace of mind again. To quantum leap the world into the golden age, it's my belief that you must start where it's the darkest, re-anchor light in that area, and then the rest of the planet is easy. Because of this perspective of mine, I was trying to get funding to go to Palestine, for you must admit it's a pretty dark place right now. However, no doors were opening for me to take my angel light there to teach people how to heal without drugs, or teach the curse removal or soul retrieval I have become very proficient at. Curse removal, you ask? Odd job for someone to take on. Yep, it sure is. I agree 100%. Believe me, when I say I didn't wake up one morning and say, "Self, what would you like to do with your life?" Ah, yeah, curse removal. Now that's an open field with very little competition. Nope, I just morphed into it. Truly, I think it was one of those jobs no one wanted to take on again, so I took it. Or it was on the fine print of my God before I reincarnated into this lifetime contract. I know I was first in line, for I got a great job. I get to play with light, the angels, the elemental kingdom, and crystals, and I get to take people out of pain and stress with my angel light tools. It really is a great job, and this is a great part. I get to keep my connection with the divine. I was just so excited. I forgot to read the fine print of my contract, and he kind of slipped in curse removal. Oops. But I get to take on and free people also from black magicians. Ooh, isn't that fun? So let's jump to late November of 2009. I was impressed to go see a movie on the child soldiers of Joseph Kony of the Congo. I saw one dark magician holding 5 countries hostage. I saw a man that fed off the lives of children he kidnapped and forced into being soldiers. He's not kind to those who want to leave him, and I will spare you all the gory details of what he does to the kids that do when he finds them. I said to myself, well, Joseph Kony, your magic is waning. If you can be brought to a movie theater in my little town of Honoka'a, Hawaii, you're no longer invisible, and now you've got my attention. I also knew I had to go to Africa to work with the child soldiers. What would I do with them? Well, all I can do is offer them what my gifts are. And my gifts are helping people heal without drugs using angel light and love, curse removal, and soul retrieval. I know, not your normal 9-to-5 job, is it? However, this is what I do and all I can offer. Now I must wait on the will of the divine to help me get there, for I don't have any money to do this on my own. I also felt like Spirit was telling me to put up or shut up. I sat down in my crystal store looking at what I had to sell to finance. Not only this, but to finance quantum leaping the world into the golden age. The only thing I had of any real value was my 2 big Earth Keeper crystals I was caretaker of for the last 18 years. And we're quite attached to each other. And I was being asked to release all I hold dear to me. And for the first time ever, I put them up for sale. No, this was not an easy thing to do because they're worth a lot of money, for both crystals are museum pieces. They're both smoky quartz celestial. The small 650-pounder is called an alligator celestial that looks like a turtle I call Honu, which is Hawaiian for turtle. I was asking $20,000 for him, my big over 1,000-pound cathedral crystal Earth Keeper. I was asking $100,000 for. Neither one was unreasonable. If either sold, I could begin to finance the quantum leap into the golden age and take 1 month off to go to Africa, pay all my bills, and really have an easy time of it. We make plans and God laughs. In this case, the divine wanted to see if I would give up that which I hold pretty near to my heart. It's only a rock, and to do my mission, yes, I would sell them. No, it was not an easy thing to do, neither do nor say that they were up for sale. I waited for the whole month of December. Then at the end of December, I looked at my big 50-pound white crystal cluster I had in my store window for over 5 years, which I was selling for $2,000. I called a friend of mine and asked her if she would help me out and buy the crystal from me so I could go to the Congo. She said she would, and as far as I was concerned, the quantum leap the world into the golden age was on. More than a week went by, and I heard nothing back about the crystal. I knew I could do nothing until it was sold, and I had the money in my hand, and I was getting a bit frustrated, not wanting to be too pushy, yet I need to move forward. I went into work on New Year's Day, and I had a big miracle. A man came in and fell in love with my crystal and said he wanted to buy it and would give me cash if I let him have it for $1,800. My head was spinning with delight. But first I had to ask my friend who originally said she would buy it if she cared if I sold it or not. She didn't. I delivered the crystal to his house. He was happy. I had my money to go to Africa, well, at least my airfare. I thought to myself that I bought this crystal 5 years ago, And she came with me on my first trip to Hawaii, sat patiently for 5 years waiting for her owner to show, and that her energy exchange was going to such a worthy endeavor, funding my trip to Africa. Maybe I would be able to stay the caretakers of my big Earthkeeper crystals a little while longer. Time will tell. I went online and looked for where I was to go, and Ghana was in the forefront of my mind. I checked Ghana out and saw that they have one of the biggest refugee camps around, 25,000 refugees. That's where I'm to go. I thought I would go to the middle of this camp and just do my healing thing. I went online and started booking tickets. Yikes. Spirit kept blocking me until I got the right times to leave. I had myself booked on a flight that left at 8 in the morning from Honolulu, which meant I had to leave around 6 a.m. from my island to get to Honolulu. And to do that, I would have to have been up at 3 a.m. to get to the local airport on time. I would have then gotten to Accra, Ghana at 9 p.m. Spirit would not let me book that flight. I finally got the right flight that left at 2 p.m. from Honolulu and arrived in Accra at 9 a.m. Much kinder flight all around. I figured I could have everything together by the end of January, and Spirit told me to stay the whole month of February. As soon as I booked my flight for January 28th, the clock was ticking. Why did I give me so little time? Well, the world needs to quantum leap into the golden age, and I wanted to be able to look people in the eye and say I came as soon as I could. During that month, I focused on making the Angelite products I would take and getting what I needed to go to Africa. I didn't have any suitcases or clothes to go. Spirit sent me in people who told me what I needed to take and what shots to get, to bring neem oil for the mosquitoes. And it was amazing how many people came into my store that had a wonderful adventure in Ghana and gave me great tips on what to expect. I did not really focus on Ghana, although I did try and write a few groups to see if they wanted me and my skills. I never did hear from them before I left. So I focused on what was before me, and I would work Ghana out when I got there. That way, I would not get overwhelmed. Spirit did not overwhelm me with a lot of money either to do this, and I was kept on quite a tight budget for the whole journey. My friend that was going to buy the crystal bought other things instead and spent $1,000, which was a big boost to my budget. And I paid for the yellow fever shot I had to get into Ghana, along with the malaria pills. By the end of the month, I had it all together and had, I thought, the store covered with volunteers to work it. It was kind of going smoothly if I didn't think too much or too far in advance. I had a wonderful Hawaiian friend of mine and her fiance who wanted to go with me. The money never manifested for them to go, but they would be one of my volunteers that would help me with the store while I was gone. I realized as I started the trip that this was an initiation that I must go through alone, solo. Believe me, I tried to get other people to come along and it all fell through. A little thing that no one else was able to come along with me ever stopped me from traveling, at least by myself. I mean, it's not my first trip, so why should it have me stop now? This was a trip like no other I had ever taken before. I wasn't focused on doing any sightseeing or any buying for the store. This was to be all service work. I was to teach and heal and give away all the Angelite tools I was to take. A total spiritual journey I didn't realize I was taking till I was on my journey. 2 weeks before I was to leave for Ghana, family and friends realized that I was going by myself. No group tours for me. all their fears began to surface. Let me just put it to you in simple terms from my family. I was to be raped, pillaged, plundered, and killed. If I had a death wish, go to Ghana and make out my will before I go, for I will need it. How's that for support? Thank goodness that scenario was cancel cleared. My mission, not theirs. I was told not to go because Ghana was very Christian, and the Jerry Farwells and Pat Robertsons had a big influence on them. I would do more damage bringing my crystals than good, to which I replied, I guess you're not going to vacation with me in Ghana, huh? She did have a good point and had a lot of validity to it. Little did either of us know that Ghana has a very large Muslim population, and they were who God sent me to. Again, it was my mission I was being told to go on, not theirs. I had to hold on to the faith program, knowing that God would take very good care of me and keep me safe. Geez, if he wants me to do the work, then he's got to keep me safe. And I thought this was a really great working relationship with the divine that I had. And if something happened to me and it was time for me to leave the planet, well, all I can say is that I had a good run and did my best for God and be able to leave with a clean heart. The Sunday before I was to leave, my Toyota hybrid car started to act up. I had it towed into the dealership, and they said the inverter was going and it was going to cost $6,000 to fix. Not in my budget. After taking a lot of deep breaths, I figured I didn't need the car in Africa, so I would just park it and leave it at a friend's house till I got back. I would deal with it then and maybe come up with a better solution. I did my best to find volunteers to cover my store while I was gone, and I knew I would not be able to focus on it at all while I was gone. Again, I must have faith that it would be taken care of by the divine and everything would be okay. The faith program. I packed my 2 suitcases with as much angel light healing tools I could carry and made whatever molds I had left and concentrated on making as many small tools I could so more people would have them. I think I took around 400 tools with me, angel light tools. And with the airline rules limited me to only 50 pounds each bag. Of course, I also had 2 carry-ons that held a few clothes I chose to take. I was carrying a little over 130 pounds of weight with me. A few days before I left, I had my state sales tax figured out, and I had to send the state $640 by the end of January. Well, the way my money ended up, I had to choose between the state and having some money to travel with to Africa. And after asking my accountant what all my options were if I didn't pay the state taxes on time, I chose just to send the paperwork in. Now, still working on covering this bill, Spirit gave me $685 to go on, and this is what I had left with all I had set aside for the trip. And believe me, I was very frugal. And not only that, which I had to have, Spirit gave me, like I said, only $685 to live in Ghana, Africa for 1 month. When I talk about the faith program again, you try traveling on $685 to a foreign country. I was also given a very small backup program where a friend of mine offered to let me put in $300 to $100 on his credit card if I had an emergency. I did breathe a little easier with that tucked in the back of my mind. Toward the end of the trip, I needed it. Now that story will come later. I knew I was being asked to take everything I've learned on a spiritual level and put it all to practical use. When people asked me what I was going to do in Ghana, I would reply, I have no idea what I will do until I get there. But since I don't know what it will look like when I get there, I have no clue, for I'm winging the whole trip. I really did not want to think too much on what lay before me, for I didn't want to get overwhelmed. I just kept telling people that I would deal with Ghana when I'm in Ghana. Knowing I did not have a lot of money to spend, I looked for the most inexpensive hotel accommodations I could find. So I went to the hostels. For $15 a night, I would get a private room. I am so worth it. I made my main reservation at the Crystal Hostel. I figured it had good reports, and how could I go wrong with Crystal Hostel? I have a love for crystals, and it just made perfect sense to me. And they would pick me up from my first hostel I had to book. I thought 4 days would be plenty for me to get over the jet lag and to find a place to do my volunteer work with. So everything was falling into place. I had to have total faith with whatever I needed would be provided by the divine. Again, I must say that this was a trip that was to be all about service work. I was not to focus on any outcome, ask for anything in return, and gave away all my angelite healing tools I brought with me. It wasn't about sightseeing or buying products for the store. It was all about doing service work. Teaching people how to take people out of pain without drugs, using my angelite tools and divine love. Well, maybe have a little tiny vacation out of it too. Oh, wishful thinking and dream on. As I was packing, I grabbed the Satya Sai Baba Gita book to read. I had this book for over 7 years and could not read it. It seemed like a good travel book to take. Boy, was I right on that account. I will call this book a guide for the advanced light worker that wants to have quantum growth. It was a guidebook that explained everything I was going through, or had just gone through, or will go through. It tells you about the challenges you will meet and need to overcome, not the specifics of what the challenges will be, for they will be different for everyone, just that it's part of the test you will go through and how you're supposed to act while you're going through them. Quite the guidebook, and I was always so grateful when God gives you a heads up on not only what the tests are coming, kind of like a surprise pop quiz, and then tells you how to pass, how you can pass those tests. It was time for me to leave the material behind, not think of my store or home or Hawaii. All my attention needed to be on the task at hand, which was always what was right in front of me. I needed to keep a sharp eye out for the open doors so I would know what direction God wanted me to go in. As I got on the plane, I left my old life behind to return a very different person. It is often said to allow the new to come in, you must let go of the old. I kissed everything I had, store, apartment, family, friends, all up to God, and let myself be open to the new adventure I was on. I will say here that for once I did not push my will forward, for if I did, I would have gone straight to the Congo. That was where Joseph Kony needs to be put in a position of harmlessness. If I would have done that, I would have been in much danger and had a lot of drama, for I travel alone most of the time. I allowed God to send me to the safest country in Africa right now, which I didn't know till I actually got to Ghana. Now, Ghana has a high vibration despite the corrupted government. It's like the United States. Our government is awful and corrupt, but the people are nice. God could not have sent me to a safer place in Africa. And because I was unconsciously competent and listened, I was safe and had a great adventure. I still intend to go to the Congo. When Sai Baba, Prem Baba, and all the other divine beings sends me the right people to travel with, and that mission is about group energy. So now it's time to leave for Ghana. Here I go lugging 130 pounds of weight, mostly rocks. Time to let the old life go completely. I had my Sai Baba books for the light workers wanting to advance in the world of spirit. Of course, I didn't know that yet, for I didn't start reading it till I was on the plane. Now, right before I left to Ghana, Haiti was having a very large, devastating earthquake, or they just had one. And many people asked me why I didn't go there instead. Well, because God had me booked to go to Ghana, and I didn't have any extra money to change my flight. I may have gone if I wasn't already committed. Truly, after I saw what was happening in Haiti and our government sending in troops instead of doctors, I knew without a doubt that I would be much safer in Ghana than Haiti. I did not have a choice, for again, I was already committed to Ghana. Before I left, I was able to rent out my apartment for the month, so I knew whatever happened at the store, my house rent was covered, and that did give me extra peace of mind. The rest I had to leave in God's hands. My family asked me to stay connected and call them once a day, so I got an iPhone 2 days before I left and then learned how to kind of use it on the way to Ghana between the airport connections. Big lessons in patience. I spent most of my time talking to AT&T to understand what I could do and not do in Ghana and the US, and I thought I would be able to use it for the computer. Oh boy, dream on. While I was in the air, I started to read Satya Sai Baba's Gita and started to cry just a little. God was giving me a manual on what he expects from me during my journey, the tests that I would be given, and how I was supposed to act while I was going through them. What a gift. It's such a blessing when God gives you a heads up that you'll be tested and you need to do and what you need to do to pass. And the man that I rented my apartment to for the month I was gone helped me to remember how to travel. I was to take whatever God sent my way and keep a smile on my face, be grateful for whatever I was given, and roll with the situation. Well, I can do that. And I got a good start on that lesson when my car broke down and I had to leave it. I was not worried about my safety, for I was traveling with what I called the Baba Boys. Now, these are some very high spiritual beings that I like to think that I not only work with, but I call out to when I'm in any kind of trouble, and the trouble straightens out like magic. Satya Sai Baba was still alive, living in India, and he was around 86, and I consider him to this day God living on earth in physical manifestation. Now, this is my truth. I am speaking with a conclusion I have come to after many personal experience with Satya Sai Baba, who I really believe is a truly highly evolved being in my eyes. I have been working with Sai Baba for more than 20 years, and I've been given the grace to go see him in India 3 times. And my truth, like I said, he's God at that time living in physical manifestation on earth. Now, Sai Baba, to me, walked his talk, lived his truth. He honors all religions, believing that all religions are one, that we all belong to the religion of love. He also believes in doing service for others. And after my second trip to India, I had a dream where I was in a temple and I was being attacked by night creatures. I held my ground and I started chanting Om Shri Sai Ram, and I did this. The creatures fell back and they were gone. Now, I always say this, Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, when I am in any kind of challenge, and the danger always backs away from me. Then we have Shirdi Sai Baba. Now, this was Satya Sai Baba's last incarnation. And when I was a very young girl and was learning something new, like roller skating, snow skiing, or ice skating, I had this very old man appear with a white beard, white hair, and he would teach me, and he would stay with me until I got it, and I could actually do it on my own. Then he was gone, and I never saw him again. And I actually believe that that divine being was Shirdi Sai Baba. When Shirdi was alive, he slept one night in a Hindu temple, and then the next night in a mosque. He also tried to teach people about religious tolerance. The last of the Baba boys is Sasha Prem Baba, who's only 41 and a pretty amazing being on his own. Now, he's from Brazil with many accomplishments. He's a psychologist that went through the initiations to become a shaman, studied many religions on his own to end up finding his divine master in India that helped him become self-realized. I have tested this man a lot, and he has passed all my tests. He has become a teacher of mine and has helped me go beyond the stuck state I was in and move forward on my spiritual path. I don't know how I earned the grace of this man, and I don't really care. Maybe one day I will know, but it's not really important, for we have a very sweet connection that cannot be easily broken. When I'm in trouble, I have called to Prem Baba with the help I need always appears. My last miracle with Prem Baba, well, maybe that, the last two. One, I started to overload when my store landlord was giving me some challenges after I got back from Ghana. Spirit pushed me to the limit, and after calling to Prem Baba for help, it straightened out. But this is a story for later, not now. My last miracle was when I wrote to Prem Baba and told him about my car challenges and what was wrong with the car. My dash lights were lit up like a Christmas tree, telling me caution, danger, everything was going wrong, which is true, for the inverter was going out on the car. And after I mentioned this to Prem Baba, and that I also had to take it to drive it down to the dealership, the next day I was to leave. I started the car. All the lights were off, and I don't think this was a coincidence. And if anybody wanted to quantum leap their spirituality, I'd suggest you become a devotee of Prem Baba. Like I said, with all the Baba boys with me, I felt very, very protected. And yes, I'm sure that the women were also watching out for me too, like Amachi, Mother Mary. And Amachi's the hugging mother from India. But for some reason in this lifetime, I'm actually more drawn to the male energies. I must add that all my teachings and guidance from the Baba boys are all internal. All my guidance comes from within and my inner knowingness. I will admit that the day before I was to get on a plane for Ghana, I was really a bit shaky. This also happened right before I landed in Accra, Ghana. Let's just call it me having nervous human moments. I started to read Sai Baba's Gita on one of my many flights to Accra, and like I said, what a gift that book was. It told me again how I was to take things, neither getting really excited or sad, and to take each step of the way with a smile. It talked about the tests that were given to see if we can push through the challenges and keep moving forward. If we couldn't push through our challenges, we're not much use to God. It also reminded me that simply blessing my food will keep the food clean and remove all negative vibrations that could have been put into the food from the cook. Believe me, I blessed the heck out of my food, and I think it worked, for I didn't get sick at all from the food I ate. Big tips on how to get through my trip with grace and ease. And then there was a chapter on how we use our words. Now, ouch, that one really sent the arrow home to my heart. For what came up for me was a friend I hurt very deeply with my words. All my anger and hurt was directed on someone I cared a lot. My poor friend got a lot of my dark side, and the anger I carried for my ex-husband was directed at the wrong person. I lost his friendship. We will always hurt the ones we care for the most. Well, the Learn by Doing program, even if we're not doing it very nicely, we do learn. They say the greater the disruption, the greater the growth. I got to grow in leaps and bounds this time, and my heart still hurts over that lesson. All right, so let's jump to Accra and my stay at the Crystal Hostel. What a nice, safe place to get over jet lag and try to figure out what I will do. My original thought was to take all my angel light and go to the largest refugee camp, find a place to stay and go to work. Reality check. I had only less than $650 now to work with. Very little in the budget for car rental, and I could not drag 2 suitcases filled with rocks around and my backpacks all over Ghana with no car. I went on the computer and started writing to people on Facebook and looked to see who would want me as a volunteer. I got a little nervous, for in the beginning I received no response or simply no thanks. Don't need volunteers right now. It was a little hard not to take it personally. Now, after the third day, I emailed a man from some town called Tamale. And as I was sending him a note, I got chills and thought, maybe this man will be important. A man also came into the hostel that was a guide, and I asked him if he knew of any Sai Baba devotees in Accra. He said he would check, and we exchanged phone numbers. He called me that night just delighted, for he had some phone numbers of the Sai Baba devotees. And right after he called, I called the numbers and was very disappointed that all I got was an answering machine, and no one returned my calls. During all this, I was able to connect with a very good psychic who gave me a little guidance via the internet. She would reassure me that it was all okay to just sit and wait, for I needed to rest and get over jet lag, and the person I needed to contact with was on his way. It did calm me a little. Finally, I had to talk with God and said, look, if all you want me to do was just stay here and pray for the whole month in Ghana, I had enough money to cover the hostel. That's all I would do. I finally released it all to Sai Baba and the Prem Baba's hands, and whatever the divine wanted me to do, I was okay with, whatever it was to be. However, I did add that if you want me to do more than just pray, and you want me to do any teachings, then you've got to open the doors and show me. I also asked Sai Baba, what have I done wrong? For you won't let me connect with the Sai Baba group here. The next day, something opened up for me, and I heard back from the man from Tamale, inviting me to come to his village for they could use my gifts. I did share with him that I was on a very tight budget and asked if he could find me a place to stay. And if he could, in Tamale, I would come. And I was a little happy, for Tamale was 400 miles north, and at least I would at least see some of Africa, even if it was from a bus. I went in and got the ticket for the next Sunday, which was 2 days away. After I made the commitment, I got a response back from a doctor in the middle of the country, and I wrote I would try and be there for the last 2 weeks I was in Ghana. I still could not get in touch with the Sai organization. I did have the thought that I was being blocked from seeing them first, for if I did, I would not want to leave Accra and go anywhere else. The divine definitely wanted me to go to Tamale first, so I was so right on the thought for the Sai group. It's one of the highest vibrations you can be around in Ghana. So to keep me away from them in the beginning, brilliant. So far, as long as I had some patience, I was given everything I needed when I needed it. When I had to go to the bus station and get my ticket, believe me, this was not an easy journey, for I found out that there are 4 different bus stations and they all go somewhere different. One of the guys at the hostel volunteered to take me because he didn't have anything else to do, which worked really great for me. The ticket trip was a breeze with only one sensory overload when we went through the largest market in Accra, the Kaneshi market. Oh my God, crowds, you could not believe the crowds there. It was just totally sensory overload. I lived and spent the rest of my time communicating on the computer while I'm waiting for the bus, reading the Gita and resting, adjusting to the hot, humid weather Ghana had in the month of February. It was like 110. The trade-off is there are less mosquitoes to deal with. And when the little buggers carry the malaria, well, let me say dry is good. Before I came, a young couple who traveled through Ghana turned me on to neem oil as a mosquito repellent. Now, it's not exactly what you call the oil for lovers. For, let's say the oil is a little bit pungent in smell. But I guess that's why the mosquitoes don't come near you. And I wasn't going over to Ghana to fall in love, so this was not a problem with me. My only regret is that I didn't buy a bigger bottle of neem. It works so well I can say I had less than 10 bites in the whole month I was there. I was pretty impressed and just delighted that I listened. Next time I'll invest in the biggest bottle of neem oil I can find. The stuff is just darned amazing. The Indians call the neem tree the tree of life. The bus was a 12-hour journey and the scenery is beautiful. The farther north we went, the more trees and vegetation you would see. I got to rest a bit, try not to watch some bad movies that were playing on the bus, read Sai Baba's Gita while I was listening to Kenny Loggins, doing my best not to think too much. I was feeling pretty secure, for I knew somebody was going to meet me at the bus station. So I forgot to mention that before I left for Ghana, part of my prayers included that my trip was not filled with lots of drama. I also wanted to find people that resonated with me and wanted to hear what I had to teach. And with hindsight, I guess I should have asked for no drama after I got back home. Big oops, next time I will. Before I go forward to Tamale, I will go back to Accra one more time. One of the people watching my store was a man I was very fond of and always kept him in the friend zone. He called me an enduring term by computer communication, darling. Well, I panicked. I asked him to watch his words or I would take him seriously, also telling him I thought we were great friends and needed to keep it there. Remember, this Leo lady wasn't looking for any romance from abroad or home. The end result was he didn't like what I said and decided not to go near my store while I was gone, so my store stayed closed for most of the month of February. The money that was made was not put into my bank, and my landlord was looking to replace me for my rent check bounce. Twice. Oh, God, big drama. I have only been renting from him for 4 years, and to see his response when I got back was an overload for me. That was the last thing I thought I would have to deal with. And as I was writing this, I was still working on calming this down. I was not supposed to focus on the material for this trip. Before I left, I put it all in the hands of the divine to take care of. I keep forgetting that it's not easy to be around my big Earthkeeper crystal. So to have people react in a strange way after being around my big crystal is really nothing new to me and such a disappointment when they can't maintain some kind of positive balance or even be there. If I would have known, I still could not have done much from Ghana. I had the illusion that was kind of, well, I kept my focus on the divine and the job before me, knowing that whatever happened, that Spirit would take care of me and all my needs. All right, so let's jump back to Tamale. Because I waited to see where the doors would open, it was very magical. And the group that the divine placed me with was a very high energy group. The man that picked me up at the bus station was Christian. And when I was on the bus, there was this group, like 9 or 10 beautiful black men, just waving at me. And I would look at them and then I would look behind me going, God, who in the world are they, saying hi to? And I would look at them and they would wave to me. And then I would look behind me to see who in the world they were waving to. And it was actually me. How's that? Duh. And they brought so many people with them because I knew I had a lot of very heavy bags to carry. Really, how sweet. But like I said, the man that was in charge, he was Christian. And where I was sleeping, the woman was Catholic. The man that took me everywhere on his little scooter and opened up many doors for me to do my work was Muslim. Very well-rounded spiritual group. And that's what you'll find in Ghana. At that time I was there was religious tolerance. What a concept. Everyone lived in harmony and no one really cared what your religion was. I was pretty amazed, for here I just read Sai Baba's Gita and I find all these people living it. They never read it and they're living examples of what the book wants you to do and to be. Truth is truth. They were living and practicing the best of their religion, doing service, being kind, compassionate, giving, having tolerance, volunteering, and just downright nice people. I did not fear for my life or safety at all while I was in Ghana. And being a white woman traveling by herself, this says a lot for the Ghanaian character. I was given a wonderful guide that opened the doors by explaining to everyone what I could do in a way so people would let me take them out of pain. I didn't care where we went each day and let him guide me and take me around where he wanted me to go. It didn't matter to me, for everyone could use my skills. Because I had a Muslim guide, I worked on a lot of Muslims. I heard from a few people that Muslims were more open than Christians with alternative healing, and Tamale was more Muslim than Christian. I took on Christians too, tilted toward the Muslims, but as I said, it didn't matter who I worked on as long as they were open, and in that sense, I was really taken care of. My first healing test was when I was given the opportunity to take on an old African healer out of pain, for he said someone cursed him and he was not able to do his job. Easy. He was so very happy after I was done, that he wanted to give me a guinea hen as a donation, which, a guinea hen's a live bird. I was relieved when none could be found, and he gave me 4 huge yams instead. I was asked many times what religion I belonged to. My answer was always the same. I belong to no religion except the religion of love. I honor all religions. When I am in need, I go directly to God and carry my church in my heart. I don't care what religion anyone was. I served all in need. That's my truth. I didn't go there to try and convert anyone unless someone asked me about Sai Baba or Prem Baba. I did not talk about them. Of course, when they did, I was delighted to share my stories and personal experiences with them. Otherwise, I was very quiet. I wasn't going there to be a missionary. As I worked on people, I noticed that they all had basically the same challenges: kidney problems, lungs, headaches from their cell phones, or their chest hurt from carrying very heavy loads of water on their heads. When I do my work, I like to guide people to solutions so they can heal quicker, like herbs and natural remedies that can be gotten easy. My challenge in Tamale was they did not carry the things that I could recommend here in the U.S. If you have a kidney problem, eating cooked asparagus and drinking cranberry juice for 3 days can help clean the kidneys out. Well, I could not find these in Accra. I did a lot of praying on this and asking for guidance on what to do. One morning, I walked outside of my room where I was staying, and I saw some young people putting all kinds of jars out on the wall, cleaning them and taking inventory. I was so delighted when I picked them up and saw that they were all herbal remedies for all kinds of health challenges, just what I was looking for to guide people to use. I just love it when the divine sticks it right in front of your face. My problem was solved, and now I had a place to guide people to. Spoil me, God. My question was now, how good were the herbs? I felt very encouraged when my hostess said that when she got sick with malaria, that she took the herbs for malaria and it healed her in 2 days. That was impressive. It was about this time that I had my first health challenge. My feet were getting really hot. It would come and go and was very uncomfortable. I put my ego aside and put this challenge out to all my friends and asked them for their opinion. Really, folks, there is no book I can read for guidance when you're on the Learn by Doing program, and you are the first. I was very happy with the responses. Well, most of them were helpful. I tossed out the one from a bad psychic who said I needed to get a checkup because of my age. Bong, 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 wrong answer, and not helpful at all. Some of the other suggestions were I could have parasites, kidney and liver problems, an entity hanging around my legs, and I needed to go around better, to ground better. Those are all suggestions I could work with. So I went to the herbal nurse and said, what do you have for parasites, kidney, and liver? I want them all. Oh God, remember I'm a Leo, and if a little is good, then a lot must be great. I started to soak my feet to pull out toxins I may have had. I started on the kidney and parasite cleanse. Gee, now I'd get my first experience on how the herbs work. A few days later, I had some quiet time. I really looked at my feet, and I saw that I had really a simple case of bad foot fungus. Boy, did I have a good laugh on that one. When my brain could function, I remembered that vinegar gets rid of fungus, and I got a bottle, applying it to my feet 2 times a day. That brought it under control immediately. The heat went away, and another problem solved. I did not take my shoes off after that and started to wear socks everywhere I went. Ah, yes, the Learn by Doing program. I started to get sick from all the mango trees being in bloom. I'm allergic to them. I started to sneeze, and my nose started to drip like a faucet. I'm sure this had a little to do with going around everywhere on a moped, breathing all the dust and pollution. The first night this happened, and again, my brain was pretty dull, so it was pretty challenged to think. And I was sitting on my bed. All I could think of was I would have given anything for a contact cold capsule to dry up my nose. No, I didn't have the foresight to bring any with me. I was sitting on my bed trying to think what I could do, and yes, praying again for guidance. I went to look in a black bag someone gave me with odds and ends in it for healing, like Band-Aids, scissors, just odd stuff, for lack of better words. I looked at it, and when I got it, I really didn't pay much attention to what was in the bag. Now, when I opened it, I found the homeopathic remedy I needed, and this is the best part. It was for runny noses. I started to chuckle, for it was exactly what I needed. Now, we're going on break, and we'll continue the story after break. Aloha, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show, and this is the second hour, November 24th on Revolution Radio. And you know, Revolution Radio is a listener-sponsored station, and if it's not for your donations, we don't stay on air. So, you know, go to their website, Revolution Radio at Freedom's Lips, and they have a donation button. Makes it really easy. So just press it, and, you know, everything is so welcomed. We're not proud. And then they also have some cool gifts there. And you can also buy our old shows, and, you know, it's a mutually beneficial experience and a really nice exchange. And of course, if you want to know about me, you can look at my website at www.angelliteom.com, ANGELITEOM.com, where I have all my Angel Light products. I have a couple books, and one you can download for free, Books of Spiritual Basics. And I have my curse removal online, and you can also download that for free. Look under free healing. I'm also up on Google Plus and, of course, on Facebook, and I have a public page, and if anybody wants to leave any comments, you can go to my public page and talk and communicate with me that way. Or if you want me to do a special show or ask a question, go for it. So let's get back to my story on my spiritual journey to Ghana. And I was in Tamale when we had to go on break, and I was having a really bad reaction from the mango trees, and I actually found this homeopathic remedy, which I didn't know I had, in this little black bag that somebody gave me. Now, really, what are the odds? The main thought that came to my mind right after was immense gratitude. And wow, the Babas are really taking good care of me. Now, did my friend put the vial in there, or was it spirit manifested? I really didn't care at this point, and I was so grateful to have it. That got me through the night. And the next morning I said to self, go ask the herbal nurse if she had anything to help stop my allergy. And of course she did. So between the homeopathic remedy and the herbs, I stayed really healthy for the rest of the trip. Now, all I did in Tamale was take people out of pain with my angel light tools and love, or energy to all you left brainers. And then I gave away my tools so that person could keep healing and help their family. All the time I did my healing, I did not focus on any outcome at all. I just did the work. It was not a strange day for me to work on anything between 30 and 50 people a day. I probably gave away more than 400 tools during my healing mission. And because of all the energy flowing through me all this time, I was pretty high on energy, and I helped, and God working through me, for I'm just the instrument He uses as a divine tool, everyone I touched. It was great when all I had to do to take people out of pain, teach and stay connected to the divine. I mean, for me, that's the ultimate. It gave me great joy to stay in that high energy. And after about a week in Tamale, I decided that maybe I should just stay there, for the people were so receptive. Ha, the divine said. And He let me make connections with the Satya Sai Baba group finally. Well, at least one of them. So the door started to open for me. I was so delighted to connect. Now, this tells you the character of Sai Baba devotees. He was willing to come meet me 10 miles or so by bicycle, for his car and his motorbike were in need of repair. I asked my guide to take me to him instead on the motorbike. I was not going to miss the opportunity to connect, so we went on the motorcycle immediately and went to go see him. And after listening to this man talk, I knew he also lived the Sai Baba Gita. That warmed my heart. He invited me to use his house if I needed a place to stay. He was going out of town and the house would have been empty. How kind, I thought. And I thought about it for a short time and declined, for where the divine had put me was really perfect and was easy for me to get around. I was also teaching the other people in the house that I was staying for in Tamale how to heal. I did want to be with the Sai group in Accra, so I said I would like to be there the last week I'm in Ghana. He said he would see what arrangements could be made, and I left. The rest of the trip was being filled up by the divine, and I just needed to go with the flow. My Catholic hostess had such a big heart that when she realized the healing work I was doing and taking it to the people, she decided to only charge me for food, which came to only $3.50 a day. I did give her a little more money before I left, and as soon as my finances are in better shape, I'll send her more. My handsome guide was hard to say goodbye to. He had also become my apprentice and still continued to heal in Tamale, and 5 years later, we still communicate. I really expect him to go beyond what I can do one day. And it's all about practice, and just doing. That's all I did in Tamale, was go out and heal people, then rest. I did go to a wedding at the end, and I did more healing work there, for it was my guide's brother's wedding. It was the least I could do to repay his kindness and attention he gave me. I made it through another 2 weeks without getting sick and accomplishing a lot with the healing I was doing. I managed not to fall in love and complicate my life. I made a lot of new friends, and I hope we will continue the friendship. And like I said, 5 years later, we have. I must say that everyone works in Ghana. I was so impressed with all the small ma and pa businesses all over the place. Very enterprising people. I didn't see them all at all. Did I miss it? Oh God, not one bit. Being a business owner myself, I enjoyed supporting the local small businesses. I kept my eye out for something to take back to sell at my store. It was hard, for I didn't have any money to buy, nor was I thinking real clear about the material. One thing that caught my eye was all the beautiful clothes the Ghanaians wore. Most of the clothes were tailor-made to look to you. It didn't matter what your size was, the dresses made you look beautiful and stunning, depending on the material. I did indulge and had a few dresses custom made for me. It was pretty affordable. I could not come back completely empty-handed. Now, could I? I always receive compliments when I wear them here in Hawaii, and people ask me where they can get them. The other thing that caught my attention was the natural herbs. Those are great, and hope to bring the line into my store, but realize that you really don't want to mix African herbs when you're in a different country and people aren't used to taking those herbs. I was ready to be around some Sai Baba's devotees, so I made the ticket back to Accra for the next Monday, which would give me 1 week to be with the Baba people. I thought that would be more than enough time. Wrong again. Once again, before I go forward, I must go back a bit. You must have noticed that I have not put any names in writing. I have not gotten anyone's permission to use their names, and it would be just too darn hard for me to make up names and remember them. If this does become a book, that will be changed, but until then, everyone can remain anonymous. I must touch a little base on the group I was staying with in Tamale. They're incredible. They do bring in volunteers all the time to help them and the people of Ghana. And with their own limited resources, the people that I was working with, and this is amazing, they started a school for girls, and they have a couple of them now, and they pay for the tuition, the books, and clothes, and they supply the girls with bikes. They go out to villages helping with whatever they can, and are now starting to break ground for a free healing clinic in one of the villages. A very inspiring group to hang out with. And of course, they're open to donations. As much as I praise Ghana, let me be clear here in saying that the people are pretty nice, yet they have a pretty corrupt government, much like the United States government is corrupt. I did not have to deal with the government at all, just the locals, so the trip was fairly easy. Yes, there are also hustlers and untrusting people in Ghana. However, that kind of crowd can be found in any country, and if you are a new meat in town, then you're ripe for the pickings and must be careful. It's even true in Hawaii. Because I kept my connection to the divine, I only drew to me loving, kind, and helpful people. The divine kept me on a very tight budget, basically giving me just enough to get by. I can see the wisdom in this, for then I didn't have any desire to travel and just see the country like a normal tourist, nor focus on what I could buy to put in my store. I was able to give my mission 100% of my attention. It would have been nice to see the wild elephants, monkeys, and crocodiles, but to do this, I would have to travel another 200 miles north of Tamale, which would have taken a lot of time and money I didn't have. I'll just have to watch more Animal Planet on TV when I get home. A friend said she would send me a little extra money, and then she never got my info on how to do it that I emailed to her. With my brain like it was, I thought she would just change her mind, never thinking of the possibility that she didn't get the info. I went to plan B, which is to put in the $300 my friend said I could use as an emergency. I was down to my last $40. This was an emergency. Even that was blocked. For all I could pull out of my account was $140. I didn't know no one pressed the enter button on my Visa MasterCard machine to put any of the money through that they actually made when they were doing business for me. I figured if I was really careful, the $140 would last me the 1.5 weeks I had left in Ghana. In reality, it wasn't. And my wonderful older son came through and his wife and sent me a little money the last week I was in Accra. That gift was priceless. And it was enough for me to get home, get through customs, and have a little extra left that allowed me to send to my daughter who was in need. It's amazing how the divine just worked it all out. Okay, let's recap what the divine expected of me on this trip. I was to accept whatever came my way with the same balanced emotions, neither getting too happy or upset, keeping my emotions on an even keel, don't focus on any outcomes, bless the heck out of my food, wait on the will of the divine for directions, and go for those open doors. Watch my words, deeds, and actions, and be happy with what I am given. Have faith with what I will be taken care of, and keep my focus on God, and do lots of service for those in need. No problem, I can do that. All right, so let's move forward to my last week in Accra with the Sai Baba group. All I can say is I can see why God did not let me connect with them in the beginning, for I would have stayed in Accra. What a high energy group to be around. What living examples. They were kind, caring, giving, fun, spiritual, tolerant. I could go on and on with praise for them, but I think you get the idea. It was much easier for me here. For anyone that needed healings, they came to me. I was given a lot of grace and able to hold some sacred belongings that actually had to do with Sai Baba. One was holding his robe, which was not something people that have them let you do. Sai Baba manifested for this woman a lingam, amethyst, and a crystal egg. I got to hold that along with receiving some blessed lingam water, and got to hold a ring that Sai Baba manifested for the same person. She received a lot of grace from Sai Baba and shared that grace with others. Now, this may have little meaning in your life, but for me, these experiences were priceless. And Sai Baba could not have given me any finer gifts, but that's me. Give me a crystal, throw in a rainbow, and I'm pretty happy. So that last week I healed, taught a lot of people how to use the angel light, and did a few soul retrievals. It was great. Not only did I get to teach, but I learned a lot about some new herbs. Then go to the computer place to keep my connection with everyone at home. That sums up my whole week. I was in a high spiritual energy that gave me security and much comfort. I was overwhelmed at the end with all the gifts I received from the Sai group. Money donations, food, beads, dresses, bottles of water, massages, lingam water. Then I was sprinkled with lots of kindness and love. Was it hard to say goodbye? Oh, yes. It was hard. It was time for me to come home. So I left the rest of the angel light with the Sai group. I know this chapter seems a bit short, but this was a time of no drama, just high spiritual energy. Little did I know that this was a time I needed all the high energy I could get to get me ready for all the drama I had when I went home to Hawaii. Now, when I was with the Sai group, we walked around everywhere, and I guess I walked kind of fast, at least faster than the people in Africa do. And this woman looks at me and she goes, "I know why you walk so fast." I go, "Why?" And she goes, "Because you're from Michigan. It's really cold there, and you really have to walk fast in cold weather." I mean, how can you argue with that logic, right? Okay, now the journey back to Hawaii. Now, I'm glad I listened to the advice that was given to me to go to the airport very early. So there are no machines to go through. Everything is done by people. Bags are checked 4 or 5 times. Then you have the x-ray area. Lots of lines to stand in. By coming in early, the lines were short and got very crowded 30 minutes after I was there. The plane was delayed 2.5 hours because of a light sensor. Just when the pilot was going to say, "We need a new plane," the problem was fixed. During the wait, I gave my inside seat up to a woman who wanted to sit next to her husband, sit next to her in flight. She ended up helping me with my bags and get to the van at our layover in New York. Kindness returned. The result of the delay was I missed my connection to the Denver airport, where I would have had a 10-hour night layover. That's something I was really looking forward to and was ready to crash on the airport floor if I had to, but I didn't have to. The delay made me miss that part of the journey. I got to go to a nice hotel for the short night, have a nice hot shower. I mean, it was 32 degrees in New York, a warm bed, and 2 food vouchers for the next day. I was rerouted and got to skip Denver altogether, which made me even more happier. The delay turned out to be very positive. It was here that I learned that the store was closed for most of the month of February. I just took a lot of deep breaths and figured I would be working a lot to make up for the store being closed. Hence, no business. I had faith that no matter what happened, the divine would work it out and everything would end up okay. The drama was just beginning. I did my best to maintain a detached outlook and made myself go to bed, for there was nothing I could do till I got back home. I did my best not to think about this too much and watch movies on the many flights I had. Well, there'll be many challenges I had to go through that month of March, and I will say I've had happier homecomings. The initiation did not go away when I got back home, and if anything was amped up. Spirit really tested me to the max. It reminded me of what happens after you see Sai Baba in India, receive all this divine grace and karma burning, a real spiritual high. Then you get back home, and what is waiting for you is a lot of hard challenges to overcome and get through. And many people have chosen not to go back and see Sai Baba in India because of all those experiences. All my bubbles of illusion that everything was okay was now being burst. And I will be giving a lot of chances to put everything I learned or thought I learned into practice. Now we're on to new territory, which is my life after I got back from Ghana. The person who picked me up at the Hilo airport was the man who rented my apartment for the month I was gone. I was very grateful for that, for he took a small burden off my mind, and I knew that at least my house rent would be covered for February. However, on the way back to my house, he wanted to talk about some of the people that was supposed to help at the store and didn't. I let him talk for a few minutes and said in a very tired voice that I didn't want to hear what he had to say. I understood already that the store was closed. I would have to work harder to make up for all the losses I had. I added there was nothing I could do about it now, and let's talk about something else. So we did. We went on to talk about the healing class that cost him $1,800 for a 1-week course, and about getting another healing by some remarkable man who could charge him only $200 for the healing. He thought that was a good bargain. My mind was thinking, how absurd to pay all that money for a healing class. My sarcastic voice said in my head, how nice to be back in Hawaii, where everything now has a price to it. There must be something wrong with me. I just spent a month in Africa doing healing service work with no money attached to what I did at all. This conversation just seemed so bizarre to me, and I just pretended to be asleep, so the conversation ended. After we got back to the house, I asked the man who was renting my apartment if he found another place to live. He didn't, so I asked him if he wanted to rent my bedroom for 1 more month. If he said yes, that would cover my house rent, and I can cross that one off my need to pay less. It was only 1 month. I can do this. I spent the next few hours unpacking and reclaiming my apartment. Now, my car is also not working, and I asked my new roommate if he was going to town the next morning if I could have a ride. My landlord waited till my store was empty of customers to let me know my rent check bounced twice and gave me a payment plan to catch up, all done within the month. He told me to make a decision on what I was going to do, and he would be by the next day for my answer. Oh yeah, it was good to be back home. It was clear he was not happy, and I told him I really don't know how this happened. I was very blessed, for a friend of mine asked me to do 5 soul retrievals on her animals and paid me ahead of time for them. When I went to put the money through the credit card machine, I saw there were 6 other credits that were never sent through, so I could not get paid. But I found all the cash that was sitting back in the back room. No wonder why my rent check bounced, for no one put the money in the bank. Wow. I was pleased, yet dumbfounded as to why it just sat there, not getting into the bank. No wonder my landlord was angry. On the other hand, I've been renting from him for over 4 years now and had not had one check bounce. This was my first time, and happening while I was out of country. The great miracle in all this was I had my store rent in 2 days. I gave my landlord 2 months' rent and cleared up that debt. I did explain how no one walked the money across the street to the bank. He wasn't really happy with me because he really wanted me out. So I just focused on my store. So much for being able to take time off for getting over jet lag. I was okay with this and kept up a good attitude. I had a lot of energy in the morning, and around 5 to 6 p.m., my body would just turn off, and I would make myself rest. That would become my life for the next 3 weeks. I would save all my energy for work and do as little as I could when I got home. Then again, my car wasn't working, so I didn't have a desire to go anywhere unless I really had to. I thought I was taking it all in stride until I found all the money not put in the bank. I could not help express myself to the man who was supposed to do this for me as to why it wasn't done. I am allowed a human moment every now and then. He went outside and quietly left the apartment complex without answering me. The first words that came to my mind were, "Coward." He just could not face me for his lack of commitment. Oh, yes, he was also the one I told I was not in love with. He was also responsible for watching my car. When I went to get my car, I also found out that it had an extra 250 miles on it. It should not have been driven at all in its condition. He could not look at me when I went to pick up the car. I was doing okay with getting to work that week, for my roommate had a class in Hilo, and we carpooled. I got to drive his car to work. That Friday, at the end of the day, I started to hear some god-awful drumming that was coming down the hall right into my store. With my shot nerves, I just couldn't take the drumming lessons that were now a part of the music school next door. I can handle the bad piano playing, the off-key flutes. I was not prepared for drumming. My landlord's stepson is an exceptional drummer and was now giving drumming lessons. No one mentioned this to me. Surprise! I went to where the drumming was coming from and asked if he could stop, for I just got back from Africa and still on jet lag. I also mentioned that I would go crazy if it kept going. Frayed nerves and all, I was so grateful that the drumming stopped. I got my ailing car back that weekend, and all the warning sensors were on. I prayed it back the 12 miles to my house. I had the part number, so I went online to see if I could find a new one or used part. Now, let me tell you, that was pretty frustrating, for I'm not a car geek, and the dealer gave me the wrong part number. So there were no categories for inverters. This is the part I needed. I kept looking online and found a used part delivered for $495. Now remember that the dealership told me they were going to charge me $6,000 to fix my car. All right, so I've got it coming for $495. I would worry about who would fix it after I got the part ordered, one step at a time. That way I would not get overwhelmed with the totality of what I needed to do and give me time to save up the money I needed for the repair shop. I didn't mind the hitchhiking. I was not going to depend on anyone for a ride. It was so much easier that way. I only needed one safe ride to town, a short 7-mile journey and 7 miles back. I have lived here for 4 years, and I know I'm not social, but someone would know me and stop and give me a ride. I have hitchhiked across country in my younger years, so I was not concerned on how to manifest a ride. It gave me a new perspective on life without a car, and I had to manifest sunshine so I wasn't rained on. I took it all in stride, for I wasn't going to drive my car unless it was going to the garage to be repaired. A little wearing on the mind and body, but doable. I made it clear to my roommate, who loved to talk, that if he wanted to talk, to catch me at my store. Now, at that time, I was 51. I'm not social and wanted some quiet time so I could recharge. He stayed in his room a lot after that, which worked really fine for me. I was getting a lot of business in the store, and I was getting caught up in my bills. I had worked 2 weeks straight, working right through the jet lag. Again, on Friday, the drumming started. I went back and asked if it was possible to have drumming lessons later, after I closed the store at 5 or before I opened the store at 10:30. The reply was no, and he felt I was being intolerant. Then my landlord came in, which it's his son, by the way, came in to join the conversation and started to yell at me that no matter what was said, nothing would change. I calmly asked him why he was yelling at me. As he walked away, he told his stepson and I to work it out, then added that it didn't matter, for nothing would change. I felt like I was hit in the gut. I looked at his stepson and said maybe I was a little intolerant, for I did just get back from Africa and was still getting over jet lag. I have only been renting there for 4 years, and a heads up about the drumming lessons would have been nice. If someone would have told me about the drumming, I could work around it then. If it was too bad, I would just close early. I went back to my store and started to send out lots of love to help my landlord calm down. As I closed my store for the night, I walked by my competition store down the street, who was closing down for lack of business. She told me my landlord asked her to come and rent from him while I was out of country, for he had a storefront opening. He was offering her my storefront. Thank God she declined. This was the last challenge I thought I would have before me. My landlord wanting to replace me. Then I got a registered letter in the mail. Normally I would not take something that was registered, but it was from my landlord. It was sent out February 22nd, letting me know the rent bounced, and I had 15 days to pay up or get out. I did have that corrected by paying my rent in full. The totality of it all was very overwhelming for me. And I started to overload because there were no other places to move to in my town of Honeka'a. I wrote to Prem Baba and asked for help. This is the letter I wrote to Prem Baba that night. Well, I'm starting to overload. How is that for being direct and to the point? I think I handled my car breaking down before I left, and the dealer telling me it would cost $6,000 to fix it, for I didn't need a car in Africa. I think I made the right decision before I left, not paying my sales tax to the state, which was $640. If I did, I would have no money to go to Africa. I left with $678 in my pocket. I put my full attention on the task before me. It was pretty wonderful. It was very nice, be able to just focus on healing and spirit for the month. I thought I handled it pretty well when the day before I arrived in Hawaii, I learned that my store was closed for most of the month, so none of my bills for that month was paid. No problem, I said to self. It just looks like I have to work harder. I thought it was okay when I had to work the next day. No jet lag time off for me, and been working every day since. It was okay when my landlord told me my rent check bounced twice and gave me some ultimatums to pay it back. I must admit, I did lose it a bit when I found out that there was some money made, and I was very grateful until I saw that no one took the cash and walked it across the street to my bank and put it in. I worked through that. I was able to pay the rent before it was due date. I thought that was taken care of. I was even okay. A bit disappointing that my landlord on February 22nd sent me pay up the rent in 50 days or you're out on an eviction notice. I let that pass, for he mailed it before I came home and paid him, so that was null and void. I don't even mind the hitchhiking I have to do until my car's fixed. And I'm delighted to say that Spirit helped me find the car part I needed for only $495 delivered. And I have it coming to Hawaii, then the labor will only cost me $450 or less, way under $6,000 original price. I am meeting new friends by hitchhiking and being very social. I thought I was working through and helping my daughter and my friends that think I have special praying powers now. Everyone has them, right? I guess I should have asked you to help me hold the Earth Keeper energy, for when it's left alone, the dark forces come in. And my crystal was left alone for most of the month. Hindsight. Next time I will for sure ask. Now, my landlord, for some bizarre reason, is very unhappy with me and is looking for a reason to kick me out. He yelled at me today because I asked his stepson, who is now teaching drumming lessons, if they can be taught after my store is closed and I'm gone. He yelled that it was going on no matter what I wanted. I just asked him very calmly why he was yelling at me, and it would have been nice to give me a heads up. I would have been prepared better. I'm still in jet lag and a little on edge to the sounds of drums vibrating down the hall to my store. I am tilting just a little. Why is he acting this way? I'm very puzzled, for I have been there for over 4 years, and I thought a pretty good and quiet tenant. I also found out he was trying to find someone to replace me while I was gone. Now, this doesn't give me warm fuzzies. I need help, either raising his energy to where he is again comfortable with me, or lowering the crystal energy where he is comfortable with me. I am not in a position to move, nor is there much to move to in town. I need help. I know God thinks a lot of me, and we're not given more than we can handle. But wow, do I feel special. And I'm really overloading. I know I don't look it, but I'm going on 57. And yes, my energy far surpasses most people on earth. And I'm not that young chickie anymore. I'm wearing down. I won't be of any use to the divine if I don't get some kind of plateau to rest and recoup on. I put it all in your hands, Prem Baba's hands, and going to bed now, so I stopped thinking. And then a few hours later, Prem Baba wrote back. I wrote Prem Baba again. I forgot to tell you my heart hurts, and I think that's a big reason I'm writing to you tonight. I'm sure it will pass. I don't like it when I'm having these human moments, and now I'm having one. Am I flunking my tests? I need a divine recharge. Hugs, Cathy. I was not capable of doing anything at that point. Then my good friend reminded me that I was a bit of shock since I got back. And oh God, how true that was. I realized that I was in a much higher vibration in Africa than I was now surrounded in Hawaii. She also reminded me that for the last month, I was in a totally different culture, and it'll take at least 21 days for me to readjust to Hawaii. I was also concerned, for my heart started to hurt. Oh, those human moments we have. The next couple of days, my landlord had a hard time coming near the building because Prem Baba was putting out energy to help me, which gave me a little bit of a comfort. I also kept blasting him, my landlord, with divine love, keeping a smile on my face all the while. The next day was Sunday, and I was home after working the store, just lying on the couch because I was so burned out. I wasn't able to do anything else. As I laid there, I could feel this warm energy come into my heart. It just kept getting hotter and hotter. I knew Prem Baba was sending me the energy I needed and the divine recharge I asked for. Tears started to come out of my eyes. I was so grateful to receive the energy. I was grateful that Prem Baba gives me this wonderful attention. I would only let a few tears come out, for I also knew that crying too much would have not been good for my body. I just soaked up all that high energy that was being sent to me as it came into my heart chakra. The discomfort in my heart calmed down. And I wrote Prem Baba a few days later. Dear Prem Baba, thank you for all the energy you've sent me. My dear girlfriend pointed out to me that I was a bit in shock and slight trauma since I've been back. I already explained why. I took some rescue remedy and some radionics to help me pull back into my body and calm down. It worked, and I poured some of the large crystals. For if I was trauma, I can imagine the crystal feeling the same after being in a dark for most of the month and not worked with. And I poured holy water over the crystals. The energy sent to my heart was very welcome, and it calmed down a lot. It aches just a little now, and not very often. I started the day watching whales play and jump outside my balcony. What a view. I also made enough money today to cover my car repair now. I'm just waiting for the part to come in, and the first early morning I can get from the dealer to fix it, I'm there. Well, then I'll have to pay it. Then I have to pray it all the way to Hilo, 45 miles to the dealership. The part that is being replaced is one that connects the battery to the engine, called the inverter. All the dashboard lights are on, and it could make it all the way or just stop running. And I'm opting for making it all the way, and the repairman being divinely efficient and organized and get the work done in less than 3 hours, perfectly. I'm slowly catching up with the material, and I'm very grateful. It sure is easier just having to focus on just healing and spiritual growth. Right now, I'm being sucked down and bless Prem Baba, the water lingam, the water, and the vibhuti, the perfect tools to go through spiritual growth with. Thank you again for all the help you gave or giving me, and group energy rocks. The next day, I was impressed to start the car up. To my delight, surprise, none of the warning sensors were on. All I could think of was, wow, Prem Baba, you're really good working with energy. I'm still not going to drive it till I go to the dealership. Not too much longer to hitchhike. I can do this. I took the hitchhiking in strides. Some days I could go in with my neighbor, and some days I was on the road with my music and thumb out. Some days I had to walk a few miles. On those days, I figured Spirit wanted me to get some exercise. Besides, the days were sunny and beautiful. I was walking along some of the loveliest scenery, the ocean, that now I could really take the time to admire and appreciate. That was the most of my month. Hitchhike or find a way to work, come home and relax. Not very exciting, huh? I finally got my car part, had the appointment with the dealership 2 days later. The sensor lights remained off, and my trip to the dealer was easy. They fixed the car in 2.8 hours, charging me $440. The total repair for the car was $940, far less than the $6,000 estimated dealership repair bill. Granted, I got a used part, which was in my budget. Everything I asked Prem Baba for had happened. Miracles are Prem Baba. I now had wheels again, and God, did it feel like heaven. I did mention that I had a roommate for a month. I was doing okay and tolerating his singing and competing with my music for the first few weeks. A few weeks ago, he took some music lessons. All I can say was thank God for those music lessons, for I could imagine what he sang like before. To my ears, he wasn't a Kenny Loggins impersonator and was beginning to grate on my nerves. You know, like someone running their fingers over chalkboard, and the man never went anywhere. I thought I was a homebody, and I am, except I go and work in my store every day. I call my store my day home. He was always there at the apartment, in his room, coming out for air every now and then. Finally, last week, I kind of snapped just a bit, but I thought it was in a very calm way. I asked my temporary move roommate to also use his own computer, to stop singing over my music. He didn't like my music, to wear his earplugs, to not sing when I was home, and that he needed to leave the next day for a few hours so I could have some real quiet time at home. I have a small apartment. If I could not control the noise at my store, at least I could do for myself is control my home environment. I needed some peace somewhere. The home seemed a very logical place to start. I also let him know that he needed to be out on the last day of the month by 5:30 p.m. I really needed my space back. He was, in his own way, trying to show who was dominant. And he lost, for my name was on the lease. It's finally the end of the month and I have my car back. My roommate is gone, so I have my apartment back. I got most of my bills caught up. Granted, I worked the whole month of March and so far April, but the business came in and bills got taken care of. I still have my taxes to pay and see that being taken care of this month. I look back and tell myself all this happened in only 2 months. Good thing I took it one day at a time. I walked away from the mundane to focus on doing service work for a month, and in the end, the divine took very care of me. My landlord has calmed down and now can at least give me a smile every now and then. I noticed that carpet was put back on the back wall where the drumming sessions are being given. I do appreciate the effort, and I see some compromise happening. The drumming was just too much for me. I make Friday an early day. I would rather lose 2 hours work than my mind. That compromise works well for me. I don't mind going home early to hide and recharge in my cave home or go to the ocean. I'm sure I can find something else to do that will give me great joy and peace. But I have to say, the reason why the landlord wanted me to kick out, to leave, because there was another woman in the building that had a business and she envisioned the whole place becoming her school. She had a Waldorf school and she was the one that had the music. And this is karma, all right? So they kind of conspired to try to get me out of the building. And all I did was not pay attention to them and send love and send love and send love. Karma's a bitch. That school ended up losing all her students. She went under. The kids that were doing the drumming, their parents actually ended up going to jail for selling and getting caught selling pot. So that whole scene was gone and over with. Anyway, everything worked out. My trip was the most incredible trip I ever had. Why? Because I got to heal people. And there is nothing to me greater than looking someone in the eye and seeing for the first time in their eyes and their face when they realize that their pain is gone. I mean, what a greater gift. So that is my whopping trip to Ghana, and I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned a little about manifesting and going with the will of the divine. We got still 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes to choose from. Aha. Is that about right, Liz? How much time do we have left, do you think?
Well, according to my clock down here, about 8 minutes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read this to you because it's really funny, and I hope I get through it. And if I don't, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. But this is called Only a Man Would Do This. And, I can't read this without laughing. Okay. Pocket taser stun gun, a great gift for the wife. A guy who purchased his lovely wife a pocket taser for their anniversary submitted this. Last week, I saw something at Larry's Pistol and Pawn Shop that sparked my interest. The occasion was our 15th anniversary, and I was looking for a little something extra for my wife, Julie, when I came across a 100,000-volt pocket purse-sized taser. The effects of the taser were supposed to be short-lived, with no long-term adverse effects on your assailant, allowing her adequate time to retreat to safety. Way too cool. Long story short, I bought the device, brought it home. I loaded 2 AAA batteries into the darn thing and pushed the button. Nothing. I was disappointed. I learned, however, that if I pushed the button and pressed it against a metal surface at the same time, I get the blue arc of electricity darting back and forth between the prongs. Awesome! Unfortunately, I have yet to explain to Julie what that burned spot on the face of her microwave is. Okay, so I was home alone with this new toy, thinking to myself that it couldn't be all that bad with only 2 AAA batteries, right? And I sat in my recliner. There I sat in my recliner, my cat Gracie looking on intently, trusting little soul, while I was reading the directions and thinking that I really needed to try this thing out on flesh and blood moving target. I must admit, I thought about zapping Gracie for a friction of the second and thought better of it. She's such a sweet cat. But if I was going to give this thing to my wife to protect her against a mugger, I did want some assurance that it would work as advertised. Am I wrong? So there I sat in a pair of shorts and a tank top with my reading glasses perched delicately on the bridge of my nose, directions in one hand and taser in another. The directions said that a 1 second burst would shock and disorient your assailant. A 2 second burst was supposed to cause muscle spasm and a loss of bodily control. A 3 second burst would purportedly make your assailant flop on the ground like a fish out of water. Any burst longer than 3 seconds would be wasting the batteries. All the while, I'm looking at this little device, measuring about 5 inches long, less than 3/4 inch circumference, pretty cute, really, and loaded with two itsy bitsy AAA batteries, thinking to myself, no possible way. What happened next is almost beyond description, but I'll do my best. I'm sitting there alone. Gracie looked on with her head cocked to one side as if to say, don't do it, dipshit. Reasoning that a 1 second burst from such a tiny old thing wouldn't hurt all that bad, I decided to give myself a 1 second burst just for the heck of it. I touched the prongs to my naked thigh, pushed the button, and holy mother of God, weapons of mass destruction. What the hell? I'm pretty sure Jesse Ventura ran in through the side door, picked me up the recliner, then body slammed us both on the carpet over and over and over again. I vaguely recall waking up on my side in a fetal position with tears in my eyes, body soaking sweat, both nipples on fire, testicles nowhere to be found, with my left arm tucked under my body in the oddest position with tingling in my legs. The cat was making meowing sounds I have never heard before, clinging to a picture frame hanging above the fireplace, obviously an attempt to avoid getting slammed by my body, flopping all over the living room. Note, if you ever feel compelled to mug yourself with a taser, one note of caution. There is no such thing as a 1 second burst when you zap yourself. You will not let go of that thing until it's dislodged from your hand by a violent trashing on the floor. A 3 second burst would be considered conservative. It hurt like hell. A minute or so later, I can't be sure, as time was a relative thing at that point, I collected my wits, what little I had left, set up and surveyed the landscape. My bent glasses, my bent reading glasses were on the mantle on the fireplace. The recliner was upside down at about 8 feet or so from where it originally was. My triceps, right thigh, and both nipples were still twitching. My face felt like it had been shot with Novocaine, and my bottom lip weighed 88 pounds. I had no control over the drooling. Apparently, I pooped on myself, but was too numb to know for sure, and my sense of smell was gone. I saw a faint smoke cloud above my head, which I believe came from my hair. I'm still looking for my nuts, and I'm offering a significant reward for their safe return. P.S. My wife can't stop laughing about my experience, love the gift, and now regularly threatens me with it. If you think education is difficult, try being stupid. I got through it. Oh, I hope you enjoyed that story, ladies. And if you want a copy of that, just you can email me on Facebook or my webpage, and I'll get you that story. It's just too precious, isn't it?
I think I live with that guy.
I had an ex-husband like that. I called him Tim, Tool Time, Tim Allen on steroids.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I call him Mike Allen sometimes.
Oh, oh Lord. And we forgot, it's still 2 minutes to go. Did I read that too fast? Jeez.
I, oh, we could go on about the things men do forever, but I'm sure they could come back with plenty of women stories.
Oh, they got to get their own show.
Oh, I did the stupidest thing I've ever done, I think, in my life a couple of nights ago, and Mike laughed till he cried. I was making deep fried French fries,
Mm-hmm.
and like a dummy, I put all the French fries in at once, and what do you think happened? The oil just spewed out everywhere. I caught the stove on fire, and thank God he was in there. His quick thinking threw some baking soda on the fire, but I sure had a mess to clean
And,
up.
and that's why you're a pair. Now, now remember, the angel light will take away any of the burns and stuff.
I was lucky enough not to get burned, and my dishwashing liquid did one heck of a job on the greasy floor.
Oh, God. Well, I am certainly not going to share the dumbest thing I ever did. Okay.
We
I
will
have to,
have to pull that out of you on another show.
you will, because I'd have to think about what time. I mean, there's been a few things. And yeah, what is the dumbest thing you've ever did? Married your ex-husband? I don't know. We can start and go from there.
Well, I'd say if you married your ex-husband twice, that would probably be up
Oh
there.
my God. Speaking of twice, do you know my ex-husband actually came back and wrote a little note on my son's wall that everybody was congratulating him on his another win that he had in jujitsu, right? He
Uh-huh.
writes on there, my ex goes, he starts in on what happened at his birth, which I had to correct him. And he goes, "Oh, I know we're supposed to be together and maybe we should, and we're living apart." And I'm going, "What the hell?" Then I found out his girlfriend left him.
Oh,
Yeah, uh-huh. And with that, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
a happy Thanksgiving.
Aloha.